I love her voice. It's so smooth, so calming. So welcome everyone. I'm Christine Clifton, and you are on the plane to 7 new ways to start the new year. So if this wasn't your preferred flight, now's the time to disembark. Um, Again, those of you who know me know that I'm very casual in terms of my presentation, and I use words like the universe and spirit and source, and please translate that to your own words so that it works for you. My goal is to get the overall message across and not to get hung up on a word that I might use that you don't. And I do use law of attraction in my principles, and I also believe that we all have a soul's calling or a why or a purpose as well. And to me, that comes from a more, again, in my world, a more divine place, the spirit, source, whatever, God. One of my friends, Jennifer, says Bob or tree, whatever you call it. So welcome it in and come in your full self and stay open to what I'm going to cover today. And the reason this topic came to me was a couple of things. First of all, Sarah, who's on the call, is a current client of mine, and she inspired me last week during her session. And she told me how much she was enjoying my planning program. And it was interesting to hear. I've created the planning program. It's probably close to 10 years old now. And anytime I revisit it, I just light up because I love it so much. And I hate planning, at least up to the time that I developed that program. So I loved that she wanted to share with me how much she enjoyed it. And I also thought, let's think about other ways that people like to start the new year. And so people run around making resolutions or goals or intentions or whatever, the word for the year. So there's a lot of things out there. And also, winter is a season of going within. So for some people, the beginning of the year isn't about kicking up dust for activity. It's more about going within to maybe reflect. And those of you who might follow astrology, I think we are either on our way out of Mercury retrograde. I don't know, Vika, if you're more connected to that, you could post something in the chat about that. But those of you who don't follow astrology, retrograde is often an invitation to refresh, renew, review, as opposed to doing something new. It's to kind of recalibrate maybe what's already there. And so that's why I like talking about different methods, because we're all unique people and we're all going to resonate with something a little bit different. And Sarah said in the chat that Wealth Harvest is so different than any other method I've come across before. It's so natural and she loves it. I did not pay her. She paid me to say that. But when I did go back to relook at it, and I looked actually at my testimonials at the time that I created that plan, I was like, wow, this really was a good thing for these folks who did it at that time. So I'm going to tell you that more towards the end. If you want to stay on longer, I'll go into a little bit more detail about that program. It's a self-study program, and I'm going to give you a little gift associated with that as well. So welcome to Gabe and Geeta, who just joined us as well. And let's see, Vika said about the astrology, Mercury went direct sometime today. Okay, how about that? I decided to have this class today. Yeah, so it's a moment when planets, let's see, switch direction. Sarah says, hooray, to retrograde coming out. There's always that residual, before going into it and a little bit coming out of it. And from what I know about astrology, though, if you were born under a retrograde, then you might experience retrograde a little different than some of us as well. So again, it just speaks to the uniqueness that I like to bring into how you start the new year. So I am going to cover 7 different ways that I kind of came up with when I brainstormed how some of my clients have done it, or how I've done things or tried things in the past. And I'm also going to share some of the foundation for my beliefs and what you'll be hearing a little bit about from me today as well. So when I first started looking at planning, I was actually in corporate. I was a sales coach for a commercial division of a very sexy plastics company, not. Plastics isn't very sexy. But I was responsible for overseeing the sales force of 100 plus salespeople and managers and helping them do their individual sales plans that then rolled up to match the company and the departmental plans. So I've been in it from a corporate perspective a long time. And then I left to start my entrepreneurship. And I did all the right things, created my plan when I started. And it essentially went in to a drawer, or some people might call it ended up lining the bird cage, and wasn't really a working document. It was just something that I had spit out and planned. But the interesting thing was that when I would go back to look at it from time to time, I would go, look at that. I accomplished that, or I did that, even though I hadn't used it as a day-to-day working document. And so some of your stories might be similar, where planning might feel a little rigid. What I find is sometimes it could feel inflexible because, as one of the things that Gabe said when he registered for the Zoominar today, is that he's more of an evolution type of person. Things evolve along, and I think that sometimes plans overlook that the fact that we are ever evolving beings. And one of the sayings that I can't remember who I got this quote from, but he says, every milestone affords a new vantage point. Every milestone affords a new vantage point. So in my mind, I see a goat climbing up the side of a mountain, right? So every time he achieves something, he sees something different. So if we stick to a rigid plan and we don't acknowledge the fact that as we've grown, we see something new, then we may not be changing things in the plan like we could be, to be honoring the evolution that we've made as beings as well. So depending on your approach or perception about planning, it might seem a little bit too rigid. The other thing is that it can seem a little relentless. One of my new clients here in North Carolina, we're trying to right size and make his business more efficient. And his attitude was, this is my goal and I'm going to do it no matter what. And so in our early sessions, I was able to shake his hands loose of really attaching himself to that, to instead really look at how he's evolved, to say that, what, just because you said it was a goal 6 months ago doesn't mean that it needs to remain a goal today, especially if you're starting to recalibrate your business. The other thing about plans is that they tend to focus on just the doing part. So just what you're going to do. And again, those of you who know me know that what I talk about is your being informs your doing, or your outer, reality. So I believe that no matter what kind of plan or approach you take, that it starts with you. It starts with your beingness. Let's look at some of the comments here. Gabe said, might be Gandhi. Maybe that was the quote that I made before. And then Sarah says, yeah, sometimes better opportunities come along. Absolutely. And that's the thing I love about talking about universal law of attraction, is that there's a purview the universe has of every opportunity that's out there. And while we all might be optimistic or possibility thinkers, we can never know exactly all of the possibilities that are there for us. So let's release that how to the universe, and let's keep moving and doing our good work so that that can get called in at the right time, and we can kind of pivot, as we go. Yeah, Geetha says that it's a journey, it's never a straight path. And Sarah says, sometimes we have to let go and make room for the new things to come in. Yeah, like spring cleaning. It's funny you say that, Sarah. A lot of my clients in January tend to have that impetus to begin to clean, do it like a spring cleaning, but in January. And it's understandable. The handmade or human-made calendar, we flip that page from December 31st to January 1st, and we've created this artificial, in a way, start to a new year. Everybody subscribes to it. We don't have to, but the world does. And sometimes it can be challenging to operate in a world in a way that's different than the world does. But again, that's your uniqueness, and maybe you want to operate that way. The other thing about planning is that it may not fit your style. And like I said before, like some of us are visual people. We're prompted visually, and maybe vision boards work really well for people who are very visually prompted. I find that the people I work with are spiral thinkers, we're creatives, and we don't necessarily only think linearly. And so planning can be sometimes a very linear thing and not allow for this kind of the spiral nature of our creativity of thought. And the other thing that I mentioned before that in terms of style is I like having a way to make it a living, breathing, organically changing thing, planning or whatever we call it, where if we have a traditional approach to it, it isn't really a working document as much as it's this thing we spit out and then we look at it, whatever, at some point, maybe quarterly. So with it looking at just doing and with it looking at the things we've just created, sometimes we also will overlook the fact that that might be too grounding or too limiting, that we have a plan written in that way. Planning is all about activities and kind of what we can do, feet on the street, get it done, the to-do list. But that also might be a little too earthy or too grounded for some people, or it might be a good fit as well. The other thing is that the planning we tend to make is usually about work only, not life as well. And as I mentioned before, because I believe we start with the being, that our plan needs to include that life self in it. Because when I work with career seekers, Grant's on the call, we've worked together a couple times, is that the key is envisioning your lifestyle. What is your ideal life design? What's your preferred future? Because that's going to feed a lot of the choices or the values that you bring into your decision making about even what career you might want to choose. So it isn't just about work, it's about life. And let's broaden that scope so that we can be all encompassing. And my last book was all about integration. So I'm a both and kind of gal. So I want everything to be integrated because it's going to feed definitely what comes next. Gabe says, opportunities are always there. Some divine positive motion or good break or luck. We've all heard what luck may be, opportunity plus preparation. I've heard that for sure. And preparation is work. Yeah, the narrow walk, the discipline, our habits. Yes, I have a slide I'm going to show you, Gabe. I think you'll like it when you see it. That speaks to the discipline part. So we'll see what you think about that. And then lastly, in terms of planning, sometimes it focuses on logic only. And those of us who are wired to either a higher power, a higher calling, our soul, mission or service, whatever we might call it, the why, the purpose, is that we tend to have a very strong intuition as well. And as we know, our intuitive, or at least I say we know, maybe you don't know, but in my world, my logic and my intuition are both tools in a tool belt that I use. The world culturally tends to operate heavily from the logical place, and I like to make sure that I'm bringing my intuitive self to at least be, equal to that tool, so that I'm not missing out on something that, may not make sense to someone else, but I just feel it. It just feels right, like the right thing to do. So that's a bit how I look at planning. And sometimes when I see words like I'm going to set intentions or I'm going to set goals, I feel like for me as a word nerd, that's those of you who know me know I'm also a word nerd. I like to look at origin of words, that those seem a little passive to me. The energy in the word intention or goals, it to me is kind of takes a little bit of a back seat, where when I think about making choices or making decisions, that there's an energetic motion to those words. And that's what I like to go off of is, it's not just intention or goals, but it actually is a decision. And a decision is an action, even though it may not be a physical action. The universe needs just a vibrational charge to go off of. So if we start changing, even if our decision is a change in energetics, then the universe is going to pick up on that and go, all right, I'm getting to work on your behalf. So so that's a little bit about what I kind of think are either the pitfalls or the things that we need to consider when we go into planning. And again, thinking about what might be a fit for us. Now, I'm going to share a little bit about me, and I'm going to do it through some of these memes that I love and have created. Nicole is on the call. She's my VA. She's my virtual assistant. She did these memes for me. And the background is actually a painting that was done for me and by an intuitive painter. And it was the theme of it, once when she did it intuitively, I didn't give her any instruction at all. And in the end, the write-up she gave to me was about flow, and that my life purpose is about flow. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted this painting to be the cover of my book, which is Get Ready, Get Set, Flow. So anyway, a little background there. But so when the memes I want to give you as an introduction to who I am. So I do believe that spending time strengthening my agility prepares us to pivot with the possibilities. And that speaks to some of the, the pitfalls that I had mentioned before that we need to watch out for in terms of planning. So agility to me is, maybe to Gabe's definition of luck, where, it's preparation and opportunity. But if we're agile, then we'll be able to grab on to the next thing as it shows itself. But in the same vein, we're able to release the things that may not serve us any longer for some reason. Again, whether it's logical or not. The next one is anxiety is often excitement in disguise. So if any of us are having, feelings of anxiety or fear, as we talk about planning or making changes, I believe my physical experience of anxiety is often the same physical experience of excitement. It's just excitement towards the unknown. And that's one of the things that I have about that feeling. So that's a little bit what I'm about as well. And those of you who are entrepreneurs on the call, when we talk about selling, I don't think an ask is selling. I think it's an invitation. It's an invitation to step in. Let's see. These are a little bit, oh, I love this one. The level of your bank account does not reflect the level of your worth. Yeah, so those of you know my tagline is vibe, voice, and value, and it's about aligning your vibe, activating your voice, and activating or amplifying your voice and activating your value. So, our worthiness is by being. It's being here, and that's our worth. And if we can remember that as we think about plans or doing things for the new year, it really sets us up for success. And there we go. It's about beingness, not business or even busyness, however you might interpret that weird hyphenation of that word. Oops, got something. Oh, that's, as a side note, that's a mural here in Burlington, North Carolina that Nicole was using to create some memes on my website. So somehow that crept into my slide deck here. So I'm going to end there because we're moving into something else that wasn't part of the focus for today, but hopefully those memes give you a little idea about who I am and how I like to go about things. And as we talk about then these 7 new ways to start the new year, you can try them on for size and see if they fit in whole or even in part. So maybe there'll be something that I share that is just one part or one thing I say might resonate. So I invite you to take a deep breath, settle into your seat, and open your intuition as well to what you're hearing so that you can answer the prompt of what really resonates the most for you. And I'll invite you to share that with us if you'd like, either along the way or towards the end of the Zoominar today. I kind of like that word too, Zoominar. So one thing, though, before I move on, I forgot to mention is that not only are most of us creative, but we also are highly relational people where connections with human beings are really of high importance to us. So not just the doing, or what I call the rational part of this kind of decision-making motivators, but the relational part of decision-making motivators is that we're highly relational. We want to connect with people, and many of us were called into service for other people in different ways. So that's important to remember as you think about what method will work well for you. And then lastly, the beliefs. I alluded to it as I was talking, but specifically, what do you believe? Everyone on this call, all 10 of us, believe in different things, and none of them are wrong. Each of us have the right to have our own set of belief systems and then make the choices that align with that. And so that's the key. The universe is looking for alignment of energy. And if I were to adopt somebody else's beliefs and I really, wasn't feeling it, then it might cause just an interruption in that communication. So really think about that and know that your beliefs can change from time to time. So if you haven't already, scheduled some time on a regular basis to check in with yourself and say, hey, do I really believe that? Okay, so the first way, hold on, let me find it on my computer here. The first new way in the new year. Now, if you happen to hear noise in the background, I have 2 boy cats and they are zooming around. Talk about zooming are. They are zooming around here, which is why I have my noise canceling headphones on, because they get rambunctious about this time of day. All right, so what I brought up on the screen is 2 lava lamps. So this is one of the new ways that you might consider starting the new year. And with some of my clients, I love the idea of lava lamps because I'm not a very funny person, but I like funny images, and I believe that spirit and universe works in levity and lightness of being. So lava lamps feel fun to me. But have any of you maybe heard from a coach or heard before like the life balance wheel? And one of the exercises a coach will do is draw a circle, and then there's like slices of pie. And each slice might say, work or relationships or, hobbies or something like that. And I never resonated with the balance wheel because, first of all, I think balance is a myth. I think we can be balanced and burdened. And I also feel like that life is so dynamic that things ebb and flow in terms of importance in our lives at different times in our lives. So, for example, in March of last year, my mom almost died from sepsis. And that relationship became most important, like all of a sudden. No matter what plan I might have had in place, that got set aside because I'm focusing on that particular relationship. So the exercise that I do with my clients with the lava lamps, and if you want one of these handouts, you can just email me at Christine@ChristineClifton.com, which should be on your registration confirmation. And I'll send you these PDFs if you want to play with them, print them off and play with them. So the lava lamp on the left will be your current day, and the lava lamp on the right is your future day, okay? So on the left, I want you to create the bubbles inside the lava lamp that represent these important components of your life. Now, in general, I use 4 major components of life. One is myself, my beingness. And if you want to jot this down, you can, or make up your own bubbles. Again, there's no hard and fast rule. The second one is work, or you might call it creativity, depending on who you are. The third one is relationships. And when I say relationships, I mean one-on-one relationships in general, not just romantic ones. And then the fourth one is community. And the reason I feel that's separate from relationships is community to me describes our need to connect with groups of people or volunteerism or groups that we like to become a part of. And so when you talk about current day in your lava lamp, the exercise is to draw those bubbles inside the lava lamp in the size that they represent in your life right now. So if work is a huge part of your life right now, then that should be the biggest bubble in that lava lamp on the left. And if you've, let's say, neglected self-care, then it should be a smaller bubble in that lava lamp on the left. So another reason why I like lava lamps is that even though it's a humanly constructed 24 hours in a day, I like the fact that the lava lamp is the container for our lives, and the fact that these bubbles will ebb and flow in size to represent that life, at least the construct of time is limited, and all the bubbles can't be, filling the lava lamp at the same time. And it's to represent the fact that some are going to flow bigger and smaller at different times in our lives. So identify those 4 bubbles, or again, make up your own if you want to add to that in the left lava lamp. And then the right lava lamp is your preferred future. So what would you like the size of your me bubble or self bubble to be in the future? If it's small and you want to keep it small, so be it. If you want it to be a little bit bigger, then grow it and make it a little bit bigger in this lava lamp. And when my clients do this with me in person, I give them markers, different colored markers, but obviously you can do what works for you. So that's the goal, is to then look at the two lava lamps to say, okay, my self-care or my self-bubble is small right now. I want to grow it for the future. And then when you think about the actions that support that, you can better think about, okay, how am I going to grow my self-care in this upcoming year? If your work bubble is gigantic and you want it to shrink down a little bit, then you can say, okay, I'm clear visually now. That's what I want to do. And what type of actions do I want to take in order to reduce the time that the work is taking in my life? So that's the first way of the new way in the new year, is to use my lava lamp exercise. And again, you can email me at Christine@ChristineClifton.com and I'll send that to you for free, no problem. All right, the next one is e-visioning. Now, e-visioning is one exercise in a whole digital guidebook that I have, and my digital guidebook is called Your Spirit at Work Guidebook. And if you want that guidebook, again, just email me and I will send you a link to a digital copy of that guidebook. And e-visioning is just one exercise in the 60-something page guidebook. And it's my way of the kind of calling in, the word manifest, again, the root of that, think of as ship's manifest. It's inventory, it's already there. So when we manifest, we're calling in what's already there. And e-visioning is one way that we can call in what's already there. So I have the first step being asking yourself, what do you want? And then the next step is asking yourself, why do you want these things in my life? And the reason I came up with this approach is that when I finished and graduated from Coach U as a coach, and let's say I started working with a client who, I don't know, wanted to lose weight, okay, that it's easy to say I want to lose 20 pounds. I know that I'm going to have her drink more water, eat more vegetables, cut back on snacking, all these pragmatic things. But why does she want to lose weight? And that's what I was finding in my early coaching career that was being missed in this pragmatic approach to like the balance wheel or setting goals, is that I wasn't, and many coaches don't, take the time to say, but why? What's the motivating factor to that? And in one of my clients' cases, when I asked her why several times and kind of got to the core of why she wanted to lose weight, she finally said, I'm really just embarrassed that as a grandmother, I can't get on and off the floor to play with my grandkids. And boom, right? Talk about a mic drop. There's so much more motivation in that reason than just losing 20 pounds. And so if I can then shift that goal, quote unquote goal, for my client to be playing on the, getting up on and off the floor with ease to play with grandparents, there's so much more lightness and levity that then comes with the supporting actions to make that happen. And it really helps the person become really honest with themselves about what the motivator is. And then the last section of this particular exercise invites you to create a guided visualization about reaching these things that you want. And there's instructions in the guidebook. I'm not going to take the time to do it today on the call, but it's going to help you create the sensory experience of reaching those goals so that you can use it as a guided visualization. So again, that's another new way to start the new year, is to use this e-visioning exercise and use it as a guided visualization for yourself. Okay. All right. Now, I mentioned Wealth Harvest earlier, which is my planning system for entrepreneurs. And I brought up a couple of things that I wanted to show you about that. So that's the third new way. And the reason why, of course, I'm biased because I created Wealth Harvest myself, but I used a seasonal approach to planning in Wealth Harvest. And I never fully resonated with the quarterly system that, I got in my 20 years in corporate, like everything was in these, what felt like very sterile quarters of the year. And January kind of comes in the middle of winter. and it just wasn't syncing up in my own body. And so when I created Wealth Harvest, I wanted to bring the seasonal aspect to it because it's a more natural cycle of the world, is to move through the seasons. And it can also help us envision what it is that we want to be doing in our lives or in our business from a seasonal perspective. There's things that we're going to do in the winter that might be different than the summer, right? Because we have a different feeling maybe around those seasons. So Wealth Harvest is the way that you can go about looking at a more seasonal approach, which again, for me, and qualify I'm biased, is a more organic way to kind of look at going about planning. And Sarah, oh, she gave me another pitch. She loves the guidebook. It's so thorough. Thanks, Sarah. So yeah, it's a lot of things in that guidebook that I mentioned earlier that you could get. So let me show you this one thing with Wealth Harvest. This was the logo that I had created for it. So I wanted the nice earthy seasonal approach to, and my favorite colors are fall colors. But this is an example of how I start the planning, and it isn't about setting objectives or goals. It's about asking yourself about what your beliefs are. What's the foundation for your life and work? What makes you different? The other thing is purpose statement. And now I've migrated away from saying the word purpose or why, and I talk about soul's calling now, but it really is, I don't want to say all the same, but it's in the same vein. Is, why do we think we're here? What are we feeling called to do? And no, in my world, soul's calling isn't about work. It's about our being and what our being is feeling called to do. And then here's a legacy statement that I like to include in this process as well, because it helps us look at what finish looks like. So we can say, what legacy do I want to leave? And so this is one of the exercises in the first, there's 4 classes in the self-study course that prompts you to really dig within yourself and look at your being before you start going into the doing. Now, the second part of that Wealth Harvest has you think about the who, the what, and the where. And that's another thing that might be different than other planning, where we'll set goals and objectives and then we get right started on the actions. If you're an entrepreneur, it's premature to start leaping into action before you know who you're serving. And it isn't just about developing the psychographic or demographics. It's about knowing where you can find them and which type of audience is really going to light you up. So this is kind of class 2 of Wealth Harvest, to give you again an example that that program doesn't jump straight there. It starts with the being, and it's done on a seasonal basis, as opposed to jumping right into the goals and objectives and going straight into the tasks. So that's the third new way, is to think seasonally. And I'll tell you more about Wealth Harvest if you want to know about it at the end of the call today. You can stay a little longer, and I'll tell you more about that, that program. All right, the fourth new way is using what I call priorities. Now, I don't have a slide for this, so if you got a pen, you want to jot some things down about this. And to me, what that means is priorities. It's a little looser than goals, but it really is about the feelings that you want to have, or the essence that you want to experience. Some of the questions, I have them on a little card here that I use for myself, that I ask myself around these priorities, is who do I want to be, right? We're evolving beings. So who do I want to be is what first question that I like to ask. What do I need to do? And what can I create so that I can have that priority? Some people might call it a target. So a priority might be that, my priority for this coming year, or even season, depending on what you choose, might be to do things with peace and ease. Okay, I'm just making that up. So doing things with peace and ease. So that's my priority, is to feel peace and ease. And so the questions then, who do I need to be? What do I need to do? And what can I create now so I can have peace and ease? So that's an example of using priorities as a new way to start the new year, instead of maybe the hard goals and objectives, if that doesn't resonate with you. Now, you'll see that with what I've talked about so far, the lava lamp, the e-visioning, the seasonal, or the priorities. You can even mix or match some of these, right? So it isn't choosing one or the other. It might be choosing aspects of each of these that really resonate with you, which is why I invited you at the top of the call to really check into your intuition as we move through these things so you can choose what feels right for you. And so it might just be different aspects, or out of those 4 questions, then you might just choose one of them that really spoke to you today. So please do utilize your intuition as we move through more of these examples so that you can create your own new way to start the new year. All right, the next one is something I call completions. And oh gosh, when I first learned about completions, I just fell in love with this concept. And I first heard it from Dr. Christiane Northrup. And she is a holistic women's health doctor. And she wrote, I think, Women's Bodies, Women's Wisdom, something like that. And so she talks about completions being a way to defrag your nervous system. These are my words, defrag your nervous system. And if you think about all the things, maybe even last year, that you collected, things you wanted to do, things you started, things that got finished or not got finished, things that never got started, if we don't give our central nervous system permission to let go of those things, it's all there clumping up everything. And so completions is a practice that you can institute for yourself to move through and acknowledge the things you started, the things in progress, the things you finished, but also to relook at the things that you're doing or want to do and ask yourself, do you still want to be doing them or not? And it's a way to kind of imprint for your central nervous system, here are the things that I can clear out of my central nervous system so I can make room for the thing that really resonates with me at the time. Now, on the call that I attended with Dr. Christiane Northrup, and this was easily probably 10, 15 years ago when I was on this call, she talked about doing it on an annual basis. But I got to thinking, like, what if I could gift myself the practice of completions monthly, or even weekly, or even daily? So again, check in with yourself. So what you would do is, whatever you decide the cycle or the frequency of completions are, you would go through that. If you wanted to write a list, you could write a list. You know, what did I start? What did I finish? What's in progress? What's on my to-do list? And the question you then look at for those completions is to acknowledge the things that were finished or things you're going to let go of or release, so that you can then make room for the thing that feels right then to bring into the space. So you could do that yearly, you could do it quarterly, you could do it monthly. So ask yourself, A, does this resonate with me to do? And B, if so, you get to decide the frequency. And the goal again is to just defrag that nervous system so that you're making room for the things that resonate the most with you to come in at that time. All right, so that's number 5 out of the 7. Now, number 6 is what I call experiences. So again, instead of setting a goal or an objective, or if you're an entrepreneur, how much you're going to, revenue you're going to bring in, or as a career seeker, what kind of job you want to have, I want you to think about what experience you might want to make in the upcoming year, or again, month or season or week. And so I have 3 questions that I like to ask around that as well. The first one is, what experiences do I want to have? And so it might be, I want to, I don't know, I want to go on trail walks with people. I live in a little village called Saxbahaw, North Carolina, and we have some beautiful trails next to the river. So maybe my experience is like, hey, I'm going to post on Facebook, hey, meet me down at the trail for, an hour walk. That might be the experience that I want to have. And so some of the questions you might bridge off of that is, how might I need to grow to have those experiences? Just as a person or as a being, how might I need to grow? And you might also, though, ask, how can I contribute back? Now, you saw that my example was immediately, who can I include in my walk? So obviously that part is important to me, community. Those of you who know me know that my soul's calling is about connection to self, source, and service. So that is obvious for me, probably why that came in automatically. So what experiences do I want to have is the question. How might I need to grow to have those experiences? How do I contribute back? Again, might be a question that you include as well. So if you have a fear of flying, but you want to visit France, then your question might be, how might I need to grow to be able to fly to France? And then your juices will get started flowing around that to say, how can I have that experience? Nicole, oh gosh, another compliment. Oh shucks, Nicole. She says, "Have given me the experience I wanted being your VA." Yeah, she gets emails from me like, "Can you create this meme for me today?" And she always delivers, I will tell you that. And let's see, Gabe typed something here. Gosh, Gabe, I'm going to read this later. Those of you who are looking at the chat, Gabe included something a little lengthier. Now, if you don't know, let's see. I can't remember. I thought maybe we could. I don't know. You know what? If you want what Gabe has in the chat, go ahead and copy and paste it now. I thought there used to be a link here where you could get a transcript of the chat, but I don't see that button here on my page. So yeah, Sarah says there's an option in the menu, but I don't see it immediately. Sarah, maybe if you know where to find it, you can put that in the chat as well. So thanks so much for your contribution. So Gabe, I'll go back and read that later. All right. Then number 7, drum roll please. These are in no particular order though, actually. The other new way to start the new year is using themes. And themes are a little different than kind of the seasonal approach that Wealth Harvest has. Themes might be that you want to say, I don't know, next month is February. So maybe the theme is giving, or maybe the theme is love in that particular month. And so when you look at what you want to do, be, or have in the month of February, you might think about those themes of love or giving. It might even be receiving. So many of my clients are givers and are wired for service that they aren't really practiced at receiving. So maybe receiving is a theme that you might want to bring in. So you can use themes instead of those hard and fast goals and objectives to kind of think about how you want to experience certain either months or days or times of the year, but to give it a thematic approach. And I use that in Wealth Harvest a little bit beyond just the seasonal aspect of Wealth Harvest. And that's in the program as well, as prompting you to look at themes. Okay, so Sarah says the 3 little dots under here where you type has an option to save chat. So you can see it after the Zoom ends, directly to the right of the emoji. Oh, there it is. Thank you. So I'll pause at the end of the class today to give you guys time to copy the chat. So I do see the button. Thanks so much, Sarah. I appreciate that. All right, so let's quickly recap. Oh, you know what? I skipped something on experiences. I want to go back to that. Number 6 was experiences. The other thing one of my clients did that I wanted to bring up was he decided that he didn't love his year ending in December because it's so crazy with the holidays and everything, that he decided to make his fiscal year July 1st to June 30th. So there are some companies, some nonprofits who have a fiscal year of July 1st to June 30th. And when he made that decision in his business, it was like a game changer for him, that he didn't have all that end of year craziness in December and January, that for him, it was more of a summer thing when he was ending his year and starting back up again. And in his world, things got busy and usually towards the fall. So with his new year starting in July, it gave him time to plan for what he wanted to start in the fall. So think about that as well in terms of the experience you might want to have. If you find craziness in this calendar year, then change it. Change your calendar year to a different fiscal year. Those of you who are entrepreneurs, here's some questions that you might resonate with in terms of experiences. So those of you who work with me who are entrepreneurs know that I want you to show up authentically with who you are and what you want to offer, and find that corresponding audience who wants what you have to offer. And so here are some questions that might help you with that, to think about what audience, again, the experience that you might make with that audience. Are they willing to receive from me is a good first question. Will this be fun for me? Right? How many of us who are entrepreneurs ask ourselves that? Will this be fun for me? Maybe some of you do, but I would say, especially when I started my first business, however, gosh, 15 years ago, I don't know that that was a question. I was really worried with just providing what other people wanted. And it might have been fun, but that wasn't my focus. Yes, Gabe, no problem if you have to drop off. You'll get the recording, so you'll be able to see the whole thing, and would love to talk with you, Gabe, separately for sure. Okay, the next question. Is what they're asking for a match for what I enjoy contributing? So I alluded to that a little earlier. So these 3 questions about your audience. Are they willing to receive from me? Will this be fun for me? And is what they are asking for a match for what I enjoy contributing? So I think that's really important, because I know in my first businesses, when I was really worried with just creating something that people wanted or wanted to buy, it took me away from myself. This class that I wanted to offer today, as I mentioned at the top of the call, Sarah inspired me because she loved Wealth Harvest so much. But this call isn't only about Wealth Harvest, right? It's about this whole topic. So as I started thinking about the topic as a whole, I was like, wow, this is really jazzing me up. This is what I really want. This is fun for me. So I don't care if 1 or 10 show up. So, as of yesterday, I had 3 registrants. I ended up with 12 registrants today at the last minute. And so isn't the universe amazing that it works in that way? And I wouldn't have cared if there was only 3. That would have been perfect. And I have 12, and 10 of whom were able to come today. So I get to have fun with that and trust that what I enjoy giving, the people who resonate either with me or what I'm giving, are going to be the ones that show up. So yeah, I love operating in my business that way. All right, so as we are winding down here, I want to talk about other tips, no matter what process you take, or if you take pieces of these different processes, to other tips or techniques that will help make this process work better for you, and be a little more fun and ease and aligned with you. So if you have a pen, you might want to jot some of these things down. The first thing is to say things out loud around your goals, your decisions, your experiences, whatever topic you chose, at least to yourself. When you do that, you're literally hearing yourself speak, and you're hearing yourself in a very different way than when our mind gets into those spirals of words, but to actually say it out loud. But it can also help to say it out loud to others, and use those energetic words, the action words like I will, I'm going to, I choose, I've decided, when you're speaking them, as opposed to an intention or a goal, because I find the energy of those words a little more passive. So, use the decision words, because Ralph Waldo Emerson said, when you make a decision, the universe conspires to make it happen. So surely he knew what that was all about. I believe that too. The next thing to make it work maybe a little better is to join with others. And I qualify that, and I say the right others. And it may be, what do I mean by the right others? There's some people who, when we say things out loud that are expansive and possibility thinking, that it will immediately ignite their lack mentality or their why it can't work mentality, right? So those aren't the right people to be sharing or joining with others in. You want to join with others who are also possibility thinkers, who are going to support you, who are going to listen to you. So join with the right others in whatever initiative you make, so that you've got that support, that you need. And whether it's with that group or with it's an individual or even a spouse or a friend, make sure that you're sharing the accomplishments, progress, or changes that you're making with others. If you're an entrepreneur and you have a social media presence, say that, hey, I met my goal of starting my podcast today. Come listen to the first episode. Or you might say, you know what? I set a goal for podcasting and it doesn't resonate with me anymore, so I'm dropping that goal. And what's important about sharing it is that you're modeling for others. You're kind of being a way shower and, in a way, even giving them permission to change their minds about a goal. When we can stand up in our own authenticity and confidence and say, hey, I said I was going to do this. It doesn't resonate anymore. I'm changing things up. So be sure to share it. And ultimately, the reason for sharing it as well is for yourself, to remind yourself of your accomplishments. Those of us who are wired for giving and service and doing are like, we finish something and we're on to the next thing, right? We just on to the next thing. So pause, take a moment, acknowledge your accomplishments so that you can kind of ooze in that gratitude and appreciation energy along with everything else, then move on to the next thing. So make sure you share. The next one is, and you've heard me allude to this earlier, but levity and lightness. I don't think the universe operates in heaviness. If I feel a dense energy or a heavy energy, then that's usually for me a sign that it's not fully aligned. And it doesn't mean a no, but it might mean a no for now. So I'm always looking for the lightness of being, the levity, make it fun. Earlier I said fun. All of this, I believe the universe is playful and it's at our service. So let's go ahead and have fun with it along the way, because I believe that energetic extends much further than if we get stuck in heavy or obligation or duty responsibility energy. Blah, who wants that? All right, the next tip, have supportive systems for yourself. And whether that's a software system like Asana or Trello, those things are digital products that can help you with project planning if you choose that. But supportive systems as well, if it is people or in your personal practices about how you go about doing the things or accomplishing the things that you want to. Make sure that you set yourself up for success. If you're a creative thinker and focus exhausts you, then set your alarm every 45 minutes to come up for air and take a break, walk around the house, go outside, lay in the grass, do some grounding and do a little earthing and dissipate some of that energy. But set yourself up for success by having supportive systems in place so that you can honor yourself. Let's see, Sarah has to hop up too. Sure, no problem, Sarah. I'll give you the replay. Perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then the last one is questions. And one of the things I say about the universe is that it's a call and response system. It doesn't have free will. It doesn't dangle us over a pot of water saying that if you don't do this thing, I'm going to drop you in. No, 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 no. What it is required to respond to the vibration. And if we use a question to ignite the vibration, it has to answer the question. So when I give you these couple of question examples, don't think that I mean you have to sit down there and journal for 20, 30 minutes after you ask the question. Say it out loud to the universe, let it float into the ethers and move into your next thing. So one of the questions is, and I borrowed these from Access Consciousness. Those of you who've worked with me know that I use some of their stuff, and I love these questions. First one is, what else is possible? What else is possible? And you can use that when things are going great. You can do it. You can use it when things don't feel like they're going so great, but you're just saying, what else is possible, universe? And you send it on its way and you just keep moving on, okay? One of the other questions is, how does it get any better than this? And I always lovingly and jokingly say it's not the Miller Time commercial. That is, it don't get no better than this, but instead it's, how does it get any better than this? And again, you're going to send that off to the universe, and the universe is going to send you something that's better than that along the way. So these are what I call expansiveness questions, and it just releases to the universe the opportunity for it to give us the how or the specific outcome that we may not have even in our human limited brains been ever even think either was possible or that it didn't even occur to us to put it on a goal sheet. Okay, so those are the tips that I wanted to give you to support these new ways of starting the new year. All right, the last title I have here is about activating things for yourself. So when you decide what it is your focus is going to be, whatever method you choose, you are communicating your level of value and worth to the universe by committing to yourself. Those of us in the course of service to others, we often will abdicate or, to the detriment of ourselves, serve others. And that creates a vibration of lack. We don't want to hop over ourselves and not give ourselves the thing that we say we're here to give others. If we haven't given it to ourselves yet and we're only serving others and helping them get what they want, then there's still a little vibrational lack there. So make sure that you're honoring yourself for this and, filling yourself first so that you can give from that overflow. And the universe will pick up on that vibration as self-worth and return that tenfold to you about your worth. When you do that, then you also can sense your boundaries. So some people are all reaching out for us. Let's see, Christine. Oh, great, Geeta. No problem. We'll see you. It's good. It was good to contact you. Let me know how everything goes, and if I can give you that review, just message me. So Geeta is. I'll tell you about that later. Well, I'm not going to get too hyperlink, but she and I work together in New Jersey. So when you know what you want, you can set the boundaries better. And boundaries mean that I get to hug on what my preferred experience is, as opposed to this energy of holding people at bay. So the boundary helps you realize that if somebody is pawing at me for something, that I can ask myself, is this going to keep me from getting what I want? And it can help you set your boundary a little more strongly. Okay, so I think that's about it in terms of the content. I know I promised those free options or free gifts. So email me at Christine@ChristineClifton.com if you want that lava lamp exercise, or you would like to get my digital guidebook, Your Spirit at Work, and I will make sure you get those. Those of you who want to stay to hear about the Wealth Harvest program, you can feel free to stay on. If you have to go, you can go, but you can fast forward the recording to the end so you can see what Wealth Harvest is all about. So whatever you guys need to do is fine. I'm going to go ahead and move through it a little bit so that I can help those who want to consider the Wealth Harvest plan for themselves. So it's a $75 self-study program, and what I'm offering to people who choose to purchase it is a 45-minute private session with me after you've done the program, okay? And I specifically say after you've done the program because the session, the private session with me, is going to be focusing on what you've put in your Wealth Harvest program. So I want to motivate you to finish parts of that program so that we can then get on the horn together and look at it together and kind of refine it or tweak it or change it together. So anyone investing in the $75 self-study program will receive a 45-minute one-on-one with me. This is not a group session, it's a one-on-one with me. Now, the time that it will take you to do Wealth Harvest depends. The actual program delivery, it's audios and worksheets, and the content time frame is about 2 hours total. Now, if you're actually going to be working on some of the things, it's obviously going to take you a little longer, but I always like to give people an idea of how long the program itself is. And it's broken into 4 parts. So you can do one section at a time. Every section has worksheets attributed to it. So you print off the worksheets, you turn on the audio, and you've got the worksheets in front of you to then fill out as you're listening to the audio. So it's a way to visually and audibly reinforce the concepts of the Wealth Harvest program. So that's a little bit about the logistics. Now, I want to give you a visual of the program. So give me 1 second while I find the visual here. The pictures, hold on a second. Right, please hold, pay no mind to the woman behind the curtain. I moved away from the folder where it was. There we go. Okay, now back to sharing. Thanks for your patience. All right. So here is, now, those of you who know me know that I love sticky notes. I have these, I'll hold it up like I've got all these multicolors here, and you'll see on these pictures as well. But I also love the book flag size stickies as well, the little book flags, especially when it comes to planning. So with the Wealth Harvest program, it's 4 sections. It's the why, the first section. The second is the who, what, where. The next is the how. So this is getting into the nitty gritty. And then the last section is the when, to actually put it in a calendar and look at the when. And what I do is I help you understand the group you want to serve, the service you want to serve it to, or the service you want to serve to the group, and then the benefit of that service. And so there's an exercise in the program that helps you piece together some messaging around who you're serving, how they're benefiting, so that you can create the messaging to support what you want to do as well. Now, I say this is for entrepreneurs. If you're a career seeker or a corporate professional and you want to learn how to plan, this still works for you. You just need to change the focus topics to be more applicable to what you're looking to do. Or if you're working and you want to start a business, this would work for you as well. So it's really a planning process for anyone. The context that Wealth Harvest is in is focusing on entrepreneurs, or specifically service entrepreneurs. All right, so this is just an example that I can piece. I have many different who's that I serve, and then I can pair it with different services, and then the service and that who is going to create a different benefit. So the program is going to walk you through this exercise so you can think about, who am I serving, what am I going to serve them, and what are they going to get out of it? And I call this the Frankenstein exercise, because you can mix and match the who's and the services to get different benefits as well. And it helps you not only get clearer about what value you bring to them, it also helps you create messaging around what you're doing. And that also is going to make you obviously more successful. Then when we get into the planning piece, we start with the kind of pragmatic goals, like in this example, 8 clients, 5,000 a month in revenue, or a product that I want to create. Those are my goals, but I need to create activities to support the goals. So I'm going to choose different activities. So the activities are going to be things like speaking. It's going to be things like networking, or it's going to be things like digital marketing. Those are your major big chunks of activities. And below that, you're going to have to create actions to support the activity. So again, this program is going to walk you through this step by step and show you how to do this. For creative-minded people, this becomes kind of excruciating minutia a little bit, and it's designed to make it simple and fun, obviously with my sticky note pictures here, and it walks you through step by step so you're not sitting there wondering how you construct this on your own. Now here's a broader picture. So here's where I would put the activities outlining it, but here are the ways that I would flesh out the actions and then the supporting steps. So here's a close-up of one of the activities. Let's say that speaking was one of my activities. Well, if I'm going to be speaking, my action 1 might be that I need to create a speaker 1 sheet so that I can step out and start telling people that I'm a speaker. My action 2 might be to create a web page with an example of my speaking so that I can send that off to people. And action 3 might be I need to book speaking opportunities as well to support speaking. So those are the major types of actions. And then under each of those that I just mentioned, you're going to have to create the steps to get it to work. So the steps on creating a speaker 1 sheet might be hire a VA like Nicole to do it for you, which would be my choice. But you also need to think of the title, the pictures you're going to use, the languaging you're going to use, the testimonials you might want to put on the speaker 1 sheet. Those are all going to be the supporting steps, okay? So I know at this point it kind of becomes for us to think about that detail, but the thing is that when we can picture this as a whole, we kind of show our minds and our brains what needs to be done, and it's already imprinted because we've done it visually here, and it helps us know the breadth and depth of what we're undertaking. So many creative-minded people think what they're doing is very simple and that it's only going to take X amount of time. And what happens is when they start digging down into this minutia, like really planning it out, they realize it's going to take a lot more effort and time than they had planned for. I know that happened with me when I first started my first businesses. So the Wealth Harvest Plan is designed to help us move past that and through that. And then the last step is actually putting these steps into your calendar and determining when I'm going to do each step so that I can accomplish the action supporting the activity. All right, so this may all sound like gobbledygook to you at this point. If you want to talk about Wealth Harvest before you buy it, just email me at Christine@ChristineClifton.com and we can talk about it before you buy it. This is one example of a client who purchased Wealth Harvest, and she decided to create a whiteboard example for herself. So she liked having things out on a whiteboard. So as you can see, her goals are here. She has, boxes she wanted to achieve for new clients in the winter. And she had these other things, these other activities that she needed to create in order to support those goals. So she listed those here. And then the sticky notes were the actual steps that she needed to take. So she would put those literally on the calendar here on which day that she was going to get the step done. So I think that this is a great visual of one person and how they decided to use Wealth Harvest that way. All right, I'm going to stop the share there. And I know we're down to a few brave people who stuck this out. So what I'm going to do is end it here, and then I'm going to open it up for questions offline, off the recording for people on the call, if you have any questions. But those of you, before I stop the recording, if Wealth Harvest sounds like something you want to try, then you'll get a link to the purchase the program yourself, and it'll take you right to the website to plug in the access code so you can get to all the materials. And remember, if you invest in it, then you'll receive a 45-minute private session with me once you've finished Wealth Harvest, once you've finished the program. Okay? All right. So those of you who are live, stay on. But those of you who are watching the recording, I'm going to say goodbye to you now. And if you want to join me on my YouTube channel, you can do that. I also have an online group called the Kindred Spirits Hangout on Discord, and I'll give you links for that as well.